My child, listen carefully. What I am about to tell you is not something most people will ever notice. It does not arrive with loud alarms. It does not announce itself with dramatic signs. It does not force its way into your attention. That is precisely why it is so dangerous. Many people spend years searching for the reason their lives feel stuck. They blame circumstances. They blame other people. They blame bad luck. They blame missed opportunities. Some even blame me. But the thing quietly stealing their future is often much closer than they realize. It follows them every day. It sits beside them in the morning. It whispers to them at night. It influences their decisions without ever introducing itself. And because it operates in silence, it grows stronger while remaining unnoticed. My child, I want you to understand something important. The greatest threats to your purpose rarely appear as obvious enemies. If an enemy arrived wearing darkness and destruction, you would recognize it immediately. You would resist. You would pray. You would fight. But what happens when the threat looks harmless? What happens when it feels familiar? What happens when it disguises itself as comfort? That is where many lose years of their lives. Not because they are weak, not because they do not love me, but because they never realized what they were allowing to remain. I see the questions you carry. I see the dreams you have not spoken aloud. I see the prayers hidden behind your smile. I know the future you hope for. And because I know it, I must tell you the truth. The danger is not always outside you. Sometimes it is a pattern you repeat, a thought you entertain, a fear you protect, a story you continue telling yourself. For some, it is the belief that nothing will ever change. For others, it is the belief that they are not worthy of change. Some have convinced themselves that disappointment is safer than hope. Others have become so familiar with struggle that peace feels suspicious. The human heart adapts quickly. It learns to survive almost anything. But survival and living are not the same thing. Many people have become experts at survival. They wake up. They work. They fulfill responsibilities. They continue moving. Yet something inside them slowly fades. Excitement fades. Expectation fades. Wonder fades. Faith becomes routine. Prayer becomes habit. Life becomes repetition. And because the process happens gradually, they hardly notice. My child, there is a thief that rarely receives attention. Its name is resignation. Resignation does not scream. It whispers. It tells you to stop expecting. It tells you to lower your hopes. It tells you to settle. It tells you that disappointment is inevitable. It tells you not to try again. It tells you not to believe again. It tells you not to trust again. At first, these thoughts seem reasonable. They sound practical. They sound mature. They sound realistic. But underneath them lies a hidden danger. Because resignation slowly disconnects you from possibility. The moment a person stops believing life can improve, their future begins shrinking. Not because I have abandoned them. Not because blessings have disappeared. But because they stop moving toward what is available. A closed heart cannot recognize open doors. A discouraged spirit struggles to notice opportunities. A weary soul often walks past answers it has prayed for. That is why I am speaking now. Not to condemn you, not to accuse you, but to awaken you. You have carried burdens that others never saw. You have endured disappointments that left scars. You have survived seasons that demanded more strength than you thought you possessed. I know this. I witnessed every moment. I was present in every tear. I heard every silent prayer. I watched every lonely night. Nothing escaped my attention. But my child, pain was never supposed to become your identity. Struggle was never meant to become your permanent address. The difficult season was meant to teach you. It was never meant to define you. Yet many people unknowingly build homes inside temporary seasons. They decorate their pain. They organize their disappointment. They adjust to their limitations. Eventually, they stop preparing for change. This is how futures are quietly stolen. Not in one catastrophic moment, but through thousands of small moments where hope is surrendered. A little expectation disappears. A little courage disappears. A little faith disappears. Until one day the person wonders what happened to the version of themselves who once dreamed. My child, I am calling that version of you forward again. The version that believed. The version that trusted. The version that expected good things. The version that was willing to step into the unknown. That person still exists. They have not disappeared. They have simply been buried beneath layers of disappointment. And disappointment can feel heavy. It convinces you that protection comes through expecting less. But protection is not the same as living. You were not created merely to avoid pain. You were created to experience purpose. You were created to experience joy. You were created to experience growth. You were created to experience life. There is another thing quietly stealing futures. It is distraction. The modern world is full of noise. Every moment something demands attention. Every hour something competes for focus. People consume more information than ever before, and yet understand themselves less than ever before. They know what strangers are doing. They know what celebrities are saying. They know what everyone else thinks. Yet they rarely sit long enough to hear what is happening inside their own hearts. Distraction keeps people busy. But business and purpose are not the same thing. You can spend years occupied and still never move toward your calling. You can fill every hour and still feel empty. Because activity is not fulfillment. Movement is not progress. Noise is not direction. And that is why silence has become so valuable. When the noise fades, truth becomes easier to hear. When distractions lose their grip, clarity begins to emerge. When your attention returns to what matters, your future becomes visible again. My child, I am not asking you to fear the future. I am asking you to guard it. The future is shaped by what receives your attention today. Every thought matters. Every choice matters. Every habit matters. Not because one moment determines everything, but because direction is created through repetition. A small shift repeated daily becomes a different life. A small compromise repeated daily becomes a different life as well. This is why awareness is so important. Because what remains unconscious eventually gains control. I want you awake. I want you aware. I want you attentive. There is more ahead of you than you realize. There are opportunities you cannot yet see. There are answers already moving toward you. There are doors preparing to open. But those doors require a version of you that is willing to recognize them. And that is why this message matters. Not because disaster is coming, not because punishment is coming, but because possibility is coming. And possibility requires preparation. Stay with me, my child, because what I am about to reveal next may completely change the way you see the people around you. There is someone watching your life more closely than you think. There is someone watching your life more closely than you think. My child, before your mind begins imagining strangers, hidden enemies, or mysterious figures, listen carefully. The person I am speaking about may not be who you expect. Not every observer watches with harmful intentions. Not every silent presence is against you. Some people watch because they admire what they see. Some watch because they are trying to understand what makes you different. Some watch because they are searching for hope and have unknowingly chosen your life as a reference point. And some watch because your future is connected to theirs in ways neither of you can yet understand. You often believe your choices affect only you, but your life touches more people than you realize. Every act of kindness sends ripples. Every act of courage sends ripples. Every act of faith sends ripples. People notice more than they admit. They notice how you respond to disappointment. They notice how you handle pressure. They notice how you continue moving when circumstances seem difficult. Many never say a word. Many never reveal what they have observed. But they are watching. I want to tell you a secret about influence. Influence rarely begins with speaking. It begins with example. Long before people listen to your words, they study your actions. Long before they trust your advice, they observe your character. Long before they follow your direction, they watch your consistency. This is why seemingly ordinary moments matter. The conversation you thought nobody remembered, the encouragement you offered, the patience you showed, the kindness you demonstrated, the integrity you maintained when no reward was visible. All of it matters. Seeds are being planted every day. Many of them remain invisible for long periods. Then one day they suddenly appear. People often call these moments coincidence. I call them harvest. There is someone whose opinion of you has been changing quietly. Someone who has been paying attention. Someone who sees qualities in you that you no longer notice in yourself. You have spent so much time focusing on what is missing that you have forgotten what is present. You see your flaws. Others often see your strength. You see your failures. Others often see your perseverance. You see your doubts. Others often see your courage. You see the battles. Others see the victories. Perspective changes everything. Many people carry a distorted image of themselves because they spend every day inside their own minds. They hear every fear, They hear every criticism. They hear every uncertainty. Eventually those voices begin sounding like truth, but they are not always truth. My child, I want you to understand something. Your future is not being built only through the opportunities you pursue. It is also being built through the people who are quietly noticing who you are becoming. Character attracts doors. Integrity attracts trust. Consistency attracts opportunity. And trust often arrives before opportunity. That is why preparation matters. The person who receives the greatest opportunity is not always the most talented. Often it is the most trusted. Trust takes time. Trust grows in silence. Trust develops through repeated evidence. And somewhere right now, someone is gathering evidence about you. They may never tell you. They may never reveal it. But your life is communicating every day, every hour, every interaction. You are telling a story whether you realize it or not. The question is not whether people are watching. The question is what they are learning from what they see. I know you sometimes feel invisible. I know you sometimes wonder whether your efforts matter. I know you sometimes question whether anyone notices. But visibility is not always immediate. Many things grow underground before they appear above the surface. Roots develop before fruit appears. Foundations are built before buildings rise. Preparation happens before promotion. And observation often happens before opportunity. Do not underestimate what is happening behind the scenes. There are conversations taking place without your knowledge. There are decisions being made without your awareness. There are connections forming that you cannot yet see. I am always working in places your eyes cannot reach. This is why trust is so important. Because what is invisible today often becomes visible tomorrow. What feels insignificant today may become life-changing tomorrow. And there is another reason someone is watching your life. Not because they need something from you. Not because they want something from you. But because they are searching for permission. Permission to believe again. Permission to hope again. Permission to try again. Permission to trust again. Sometimes the greatest gift you give another person is not advice. It is example. Seeing someone continue despite difficulty gives others courage. Seeing someone remain faithful despite uncertainty gives others courage. Seeing someone refuse to surrender gives others courage. Your life may be answering questions that other people have been asking in secret. Never underestimate the power of quiet influence. A single example can change a generation. A single act of courage can awaken another heart. A single decision can inspire countless others. This is why your story matters. Not because you are perfect, not because you never struggle, but because you continue moving forward. And now, my child, I want to reveal something even more surprising. There is a prayer you once prayed that heaven never forgot. You may have forgotten it. You may have stopped expecting it. You may have convinced yourself it would never happen. But I remember every word. I remember the tears. I remember the hope. I remember the moment you asked. And what I am about to tell you may completely change the way you see your future. Because some prayers are not denied. They are simply waiting for the moment when you are ready to receive the answer. Because some prayers are not denied. They are simply waiting for the moment when you are ready to receive the answer. My child, there is something I want you to remember. Nothing spoken from a sincere heart is ever lost. You may forget your words. You may forget the exact night. You may forget the tears. But heaven does not forget. I remember prayers you whispered when nobody else was listening. I remember the moments when you looked strong on the outside but felt broken within. I remember when you asked for help and wondered if anyone heard. I remember when you asked for direction. I remember when you asked for healing. I remember when you asked for a miracle. And I remember the prayers you eventually stopped mentioning because too much time had passed. That is the prayer I want to talk about now. Many people assume that if an answer does not arrive quickly, it must never be coming. But my child, timing and denial are not the same thing. Delay and rejection are not the same thing. Preparation and absence are not the same thing. You often judge my activity based on what you can see. Yet most of my work happens where your eyes cannot reach. Consider a seed. The day it is planted, nothing seems to happen. A week later, nothing seems to happen. Sometimes even longer. To the person standing above the ground, it appears inactive. But beneath the surface, everything is changing. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. Life is preparing. Growth is happening where nobody can see it. Many prayers follow the same pattern. You asked. Then you waited. Then you waited longer. Eventually, disappointment began speaking louder than faith. Questions replaced expectation. Silence replaced confidence. And because no visible answer appeared, you assumed nothing was happening. But my child, silence does not mean inactivity. Some answers require the movement of many pieces. Some answers involve other people. Some answers involve timing. Some answers require growth inside you before they can safely arrive. Had I answered certain prayers immediately, they might have damaged you instead of blessing you. You see the desire. I see the consequences. You see the request. I see the entire path. That is why wisdom sometimes waits. I know there are things you once wanted desperately. Opportunities, relationships, open doors, breakthroughs, changes. At the time they seemed perfect. At the time they seemed necessary. Yet, if they had arrived then, they would have connected to a version of you who was not yet prepared. The blessing would have arrived, but the ability to sustain it would not. That is why preparation matters. Many people pray for larger responsibilities while avoiding the growth required to carry them. Many pray for influence while resisting discipline. Many pray for success while ignoring character. Many pray for change while remaining unwilling to change themselves. But you have been growing, even when you did not realize it. The disappointments taught you things. The waiting taught you things. The unanswered questions taught you things. The difficult seasons taught you things. What felt like delay was often development. What felt like silence was often preparation. What felt like absence was often protection. I want you to imagine something. Imagine being shown your entire future at once. Imagine seeing every answer, every blessing, every breakthrough, every relationship, every opportunity. Would you have the patience to walk the journey? Or would you constantly rush ahead? Would you trust the process? Or would you become frustrated by every delay? Part of wisdom is receiving information at the right time. Too much too soon creates pressure. Too little creates confusion. Perfect timing creates growth. This is why I reveal things gradually. Not because I enjoy keeping secrets, but because understanding arrives in stages. You are not the same person who first prayed those forgotten prayers. You have changed. You have matured. You have survived. You have learned. You have become stronger. And now some things that once seemed impossible are moving closer than you realize. Not because I suddenly remembered you. I never forgot you. Not because I suddenly started caring. I always cared. Not because I suddenly noticed your need. I always saw it. The difference is readiness. The difference is timing. The difference is alignment. There are moments in life when years of preparation suddenly become visible. What looked like waiting transforms into movement. What looked like silence transforms into answers. What looked impossible transforms into reality. Most people only see the moment of arrival. They do not see the years of preparation behind it. But heaven sees both. And heaven wastes nothing. Not a single tear. Not a single prayer. Not a single lesson. Not a single season. Everything has been contributing to something greater than you currently understand. I know there were moments when you almost gave up. Moments when hope felt exhausting. Moments when believing seemed harder than surrendering. Yet somehow you kept moving. You took another step. You prayed another prayer. You faced another day. That perseverance matters more than you know. Because persistence reveals desire. Persistence reveals character. Persistence reveals faith. And faith creates room for miracles. Now I want to tell you something that may surprise you. The answer you expected may not arrive exactly as you imagined. Many people miss blessings because they arrive in unfamiliar forms. They expect one door. I provide another. They expect one person. I send someone different. They expect one path. I create another. The blessing arrives. But because it looks different than expected, they fail to recognize it. Remain open. Remain attentive. Remain willing to see beyond your assumptions. Because some answers arrive disguised as opportunities. Some arrive disguised as changes. Some arrive disguised as endings that create better beginnings. And some arrive disguised as ordinary moments that later transform everything. My child, I feel your anticipation growing. I feel your desire to know more. I feel the questions forming inside your mind. What is coming? When will it happen? How will it happen? Those are natural questions. But before answers become visible, there is something else you need to understand. There is a reason you have been waking up at unusual hours. There is a reason certain thoughts return when the world becomes quiet. There is a reason some nights feel different from others. And what happens around 3 o'clock in the morning may reveal more than you realize.